welcome back everybody to another exciting Renatus Invest Edge. My name is Jay Stark. It's truly my honor to get to welcome every single one of you to the call and to prepare you just a little bit for what today's call is going to look like. Now, we are changing things up just a little bit, but the most important thing that we are not changing is the content that we are bringing to you, which is amazing in and of itself. But I am truly honored to be able to bring out our host for the remainder of the call, an individual for whom I've had the pleasure of working for 14 years now. We are celebrating our 14-year anniversary in like a week. So almost 14 years, almost. But I am ridiculously excited, if you have not yet had the chance to meet him, to introduce you to Bob Snyder. He's the founder and CEO of Renatus. He has more than 38 years of experience being at the top of or owning companies that have collectively amassed hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and profit. And it is truly my honor to get to work with you, work for you, and to introduce you today to the remainder of our audience. So, Mr. Snyder, take it away, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, man. And I am thrilled to be with you because we've got a fantastic Invest Edge. Our featured trainer today is an individual that we all know and love inside of the Renatus community. He is one of our favorite instructors, but he didn't start out that way. He started out as a student, an individual who was just trying to figure out how to get out of his position as a diesel mechanic and make a better future, a better life for his family. And what did he do? Oh, he absolutely crushed it. He's done hundreds of real estate transactions. He is an expert in so many different fields of study. And we've got him here so that he can share some of those tips and tricks and little nuances with you to help you in your real estate investing career. It's none other than Mr. Brian Sump. Brian, welcome to Renatus Invest Edge.
Glad to be here, Bob. Always.
We're absolutely excited, man. Hey, give everybody just a little taste of what they're going to learn today.
So today we're going to be talking about rehabbing and remaining flexible. We're going to go over 6 different topics or 6 different items that can either make or break a rehabbing transaction, whether it's going to be successful or not. So this is going to be a good one.
Right on, man. Well, I can't wait to dig into it. And Brian, I've just got to ask you, I mean, of the hundreds of real estate transactions that you've completed over the years, do you still carry the badge of honor? And you know the badge of honor.
Haven't lost a dime.
You still haven't lost money on a single deal. Now, I can't say that. Can you say that, Jay?
I cannot say that.
You can't say that. I can't say that. You have never lost money on a single real estate transaction. Man, I'm telling you, that is a badge of honor that you wear proudly.
Attaboy.
Yeah, I've lost money in investing, but it was investing in things that I had no business investing in. But when it comes to a real estate, no, I've never lost a dime in a real estate transaction.
When I grow up, Brian, I want to be just like you.
Yep, me too.
Well, man, we're going to let you dig right into your content because I know we've got a lot of folks that are watching us, all over the internet that want to learn from some of your wonderful wisdoms you have to share today.
I appreciate that. So let's jump into it. So I'm going to switch over here to a PowerPoint. So there we go. All right, so we are going to be talking about rehabbing and remaining flexible today. So first off, what do I mean when it comes to remaining flexible? What I mean by that is always in the process of a real estate transaction, there's always going to be something that comes up, whether you're aware of it or whether or not you know it's coming or not. When those things do happen, you've got to be able to pivot or to be able to change your thought process in being able to make the transaction work. So let's get into a couple of these different items. Probably the first and foremost, most important thing about rehabbing is knowing the process. Now, obviously, today we're not going to be able to have the amount of time to go over the entire process, and that's one of the reasons why Renatus has such great education that we do. But knowing the process, so from the very beginning, from acquisition or from, I guess, even finding the property to begin with, to running the numbers, to acquisition to then being able to have ownership and then moving into the rehabbing process itself, where do you start? So let's dive into just talking about rehabbing itself, not the acquisition, not the finding them, but let's just talk about directly about working a transaction kind of from beginning to end when it comes to the actual physical process of on the property of doing exactly what you're going to be doing to it. So first and foremost, literally starting at the very bottom, looking and seeing what the foundation of the property looks like. If from the very beginning that there's an issue with the foundation, that's one of the things that has to be addressed right off the bat. One of the transactions that I worked on a while ago was a house that we decided it was just a single, like a bungalow style house. And we wanted to create some additional square footage. We couldn't go out to the sides of the property because of the property setbacks from the neighboring properties or the neighboring homes. We could go out the back of the house because it was really long, but it was that in and of itself was going to create some issues of itself that were going to be too costly.
Hey,
so
Brian,
what we decided to do. Yeah.
Hey, Brian, is there a chance you can stop sharing your screen for just a minute so we can see you as you're going through all this?
Yep, absolutely.
Sweet.
Is that better?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, we want to be
Okay.
able to see your beautiful face.
Well, okay. Anyway, so let's moving on. Let's talk about this house. So this property, again, it was a bungalow. It had 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a family room. And we decided to go down underneath the house because the foundation did have problems with it. So what we did was we lifted up the property itself, literally put the house on stilts, and started digging out the basement. So from the back of the house, we had a small little bobcat that we made a ramp down into underneath the house. We literally dug out the entire underneath portion of the house. And just as we were finishing up where we thought we had everything the way that we wanted it to, we started backing out with the bobcat, and one of the tracks dropped down in. And it was like, okay, we weren't expecting that. And so we got the bobcat out of there, but all of a sudden there's this creek, this underground creek that's literally running underneath the house from one corner of the house to the other corner of the house. This small little underground creek that was running underneath the house. So we were like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do here? So long story short was we ended up having to go down to the city. We talked to the city about the situation that we were in, and she wanted to know what we were doing. And it's like, well, we have a building permit, but we were adding a basement, underneath this property. And she goes, no. And it's like, what do you mean, no? We've already got a building permit for it. She goes, what we want you to do is, and then she stopped for a second. She goes, well, how much was your building permit? I said, it was like $1,200. And she goes, what we'd like you to do is an earthquake retrofit. And we're like, okay, what does that entail? Because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we've got a lot more work that we're going to have to do here. She goes, do you have any plans set up yet? I said, yeah, but I don't have them with me. So she slides me over this piece of paper. She goes, dry out the foundation that you've got. And so I literally just grabbed a pen and I drew out this square, because this house was literally a square little bungalow. And I slide it back to her. And she looks at it and kind of tilts her head a little bit. She grabs a stamp and she stamps on it, approved. And it's like, okay, now seriously, what am I getting myself into? And she goes, we'll refund your $1,200 building permit, because now that you're retrofitting this property, you're going to do it exactly the same way that you're going to do it, but it's just now it's an earthquake retrofit. and the building permit for that is $50. So literally she saved us $1,150 just by me going in. And she goes, so you guys already came in, you guys got a building permit, you've started on this, and nobody has red tagged the property or shut it down. I said, no, are we supposed to? And she goes, well, no, you're just one of the first ones in that area that have ever come in and actually got a building permit first. We shut everybody down when they don't do that. So she goes, continue on. And I said, well, now, wait a minute. That's not why I'm here. It's like, I've got again, this is down at the building department down at the city. And she goes, what's the problem? And I said, I've got a creek running. Oh, she goes, oh, you found that. It's like, wait a minute. So anyway, they're aware of this. She goes, all that we need you to do is, she slid back my paper back to me, and she goes, draw from the corner to corner, where the creek's going through. So I did. I drew 2 straight lines going straight through the property. And she goes, okay, all you've got to do now is just build a 2-foot by 2-foot square box, fill that in, and then you can pour your cement of your floor. And I said, all we've got to do is all you want us to do is just box this in a 2-foot square box, just so that the creek can run through it. She goes, yep, that's all I need you to do. So it's like, all right. So we did it. And when the house was all finished, if it was like really, really, really quiet in the house, you'd hear water running underneath the house. And it was like, we've got to obviously we made sure that when we did that, we made sure we told the new buyers, because otherwise they would think that they'd have a major water leak somewhere. But they've got this, this little creek, and they had a son that the people that we were selling it to, he goes, well, is there fish in it? He wanted to know if he could go fishing in his bedroom is what he wanted to know. It's like, nope, buddy, sorry, there's no fish in it, but it is fresh water though. So anyway, so that was one of the things that we found out, a couple of things. Number one, if you're doing a large project like that, make sure that you get your building permits before you start work. Because if you do that, if you start work prior to it, most likely the city is going to shut you down, and they're also going to fine you and probably hit you a lot harder with a lot of the different fees and things that go on when it comes to rehabbing. So in this case, knowing the process of what to expect when it came with the city, especially with the city inspectors, she was extremely helpful when it came to, understanding, especially with, we had a creek running through the bottom of the house. We weren't expecting that at all. But once we understood what that process was with them, with their earthquake retrofit, it was so much cheaper. Number 2, the foundation was so much stronger when it was all done. It was a standard foundation, because when we first got to the house, it literally was a cobblestone, a foundation to the house that literally you could look at it sideways and it would start falling apart. So we were surprised that the house was actually still standing. And they had tried to do a bunch of stuff to it. But anyway, long story short on that one is, got it all done, made an additional bathroom downstairs and 2 bedrooms, plus a family room, and made the house twice the square footage that it was. And then again, it made it real easy to sell, especially to a family going into something like that.
And that is fantastic.
So,
Brian, let me just ask you. There's a few things that we kind of have to unpack here. First of all, what you're saying is, hey, make friends with the city, not enemies, right? Number one.
Right off the bat, absolutely.
So because you were the outlier who actually went in and did things by the book, they bent over backwards to help you out.
Absolutely. In fact, every single time that we called for an inspection, they asked if we wanted it to be done the same day or if we wanted to schedule it a day or 2 out. They were really, really helpful with us. It's like, oh, you need an inspection? Do you want us to come out right now?
Man, that's
so
fantastic.
it worked out really well.
Okay, the next thing that I wanted to point out is This type of a project would absolutely terrify most investors.
Yeah, it would.
How did you remain calm?
I called Matt. So I've got a contractor friend. His name's Matt. And Matt's one of those that anytime I ever get possibly a little bit over my head or I'm not exactly 100% sure of what I'm doing, I always call Matt.
So Matt gave you a little guidance and calmed you down. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Because when the skid steer tipped and went into that, and all of a sudden I see rushing water underneath it, that really kind of freaked me out. I thought we were in for a big issue. In fact, Matt thought we were in for a big problem too until we went down and talked to the city.
So make friends with the city, and then make sure you surround yourself with competent people.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yep. Find a contractor like Matt that you can go to for a little advice
Yes.
and a pinch. That's
exactly.
That's funny.
You go snowmobiling with him on a couple of times, not this year, but.
And I'm telling you what, relationships are everything in this business, and I'm glad that you're speaking highly of our good friend Matt. Not that he's a friend of mine, but he's going to be, because I'm going to need somebody like that, in my corner as well.
Yeah, Matt's a good man. Well, in fact, speaking of having good people on your team, a few years ago, I had a situation where I was going down to sign some documents for, and this goes along the lines with working with people as far as like working with professionals like the city, or in this case, it was a title company. So I ran down to sign some documents. I go in to sign the document. She asks for my identification. I hand her my identification, and I'm ready to sign everything. And she goes, "I'm sorry, I can't sign anything for you." And this is like at 4:00 in the afternoon. And I said, "Well, how come? Why not?" She goes, "Your driver's license is expired. In fact, it's been expired for almost 30 days. And I like, we had to sign that day. Well, so I grab the card, I run down to the DMV really quick. It's now about 4:30 and they're closing the door. I'm literally the last one that they let slide in. And the guy's looking at my driver's license. He's kind of looking at me. He's looking at the driver's license, looks at me, and he goes, "Mr. Sump, if you would have waited," and this was on a Friday night. He goes, "If you would have waited until Monday, you would have had," because I have a commercial driver's license, I have a CDL, "you would have had to have taken every single test, every single driving test. You would have had to take your doubles, your tankers. You would have had to have taken everything because you would have been past 30 days. And I just, and otherwise I just went in, paid the money, and, I was out with a new driver's license. So I ran down to the grocery store really quick. I bought this lady some flowers, some chocolates. I went back to her and I handed it all to her. And I said, "Thank you so much for not being willing to sign my documents." And she had signed documents for me before, so she knew who I was.
Yeah.
But she says, "Because your driver's license is expired, I cannot sign documents for you." And that saved me. I can't imagine the amount of cost or the amount of time that it would have taken me to get everything back again. Motorcycle endorsement, everything would have been gone.
Yeesh.
So that just goes to show, work with good people.
That it does, man. That it does. Well, listen, we didn't mean to derail you. I just wanted to point out a few things because I was fascinated by the fact that you had a river running through it. That sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
A river runs through it.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to put up. Yeah, right?
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Was that the house? Is that how you refer to that house? A river runs through it?
The river running through it, yeah.
The bread.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you were still able to get that thing dialed in and still make a profit on it because obviously you haven't lost your badge of honor.
Yeah, we did. In fact, we did really well on that one. I think we made just under 70 grand on that one.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
So not a bad day. All right. So next, let's get into our next subject or the next line item. Let's talk about not knowing our costs. So in this situation, we honestly, since we did not know that there was a river running underneath the house, we didn't realize some of the amount of cost that was going to go into it. And the way that we initially were thinking we were going to have, because before we went and talked to the city, we thought we were going to have to do, I mean, honestly, we didn't know if we were going to run into environmental stuff. We didn't know if we were going to run into, there was so much that we didn't know that we may have ran into. This one, we really could have potentially lost our shirts on this job. But by going down and talking to the city and them explaining, it's like, yeah, we've got a number of those running through this particular area. All you need to do is basically build a culvert, or even drop in at least a 2-foot diameter culvert underneath the house, and just let the water run into it and run right back out from underneath the house. As long as it goes back into its original channel, it's going to be fine. So it's like, okay. So that one actually was pretty cheap to do. So let's talk about regular transactions though. Knowing costs. Just a couple years ago, when COVID hit, one of the things that we were not expecting was the cost of a lot of building materials skyrocketed. I mean, normally we were paying for a 7/16 inch sheet of OSB. We were paying $6, $5, $6, $7 a sheet for it. It actually got up to $90 a sheet for a single sheet of OSB, which is just regular glued together plywood. Almost $90 a sheet for that stuff. It was ridiculous. And just regular lumber, we were paying $30 and $40 for a single 2x4. That was unconscionable. And so obviously when those prices went up so high, we had to rethink a lot of the different types of rehabbing projects that we were doing. Price of cabinets went up. They didn't go up as dramatic as some of the raw materials did, but it did go up dramatically. So we were able to then change some of the ways that we were doing things when it comes to running costs. What I mean by that is we started opening up different areas of property or different transactions that we were doing. We were opening up and making a lot more spacious areas rather than singling them off and creating bedrooms or more bathrooms or anything like that, because it was too expensive to do so. So we would reuse a lot of the materials that we would pull out of a property. Let's say if we took out a wall, we would strip that stuff down and we would use every single thing that we could out of it, especially when it came to things like 2x4s, or even some of the plumbing that was interior in the walls, some electrical we would reuse. We'd start reusing all of that stuff to help minimize some of our costs. So when it comes to knowing cost, and things have now settled back down again where, yeah, we're paying a little bit more for stuff than what we used to, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. So now we can determine the cost of going into things by understanding what the cost of materials are in this particular area. The easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is once you put together a list of the things that you're going to need or materials that you're going to need, get those sent in. If you go through some place like Home Depot or Lowe's, get into their pro desk, give them a list of everything that you need, and they're going to put together a sheet for you of exactly how much all of that is going to cost you. And if you go through their pro desks, it's generally going to cost you a little bit less. On average, they'll usually knock down the price of stuff maybe 5 to 10%. And if you can get it or put it on a new Home Depot card, it'll save you even probably another 5%. Unless you've done it so many times that they say you can't have any more Home Depot cards, and give you a good idea who's at that situation. Because I can't get any more new Home Depot cards. They say I've got too many now. So that's one thing that you can understand what your costs are going to be, is literally go into the store, go into the warehouse, contact whatever, if you've got a contractor, have them give you an exact list of everything that you're going to need for that particular job or for that particular rehab. And once you do that, then you're going to be able to know what not what your holding costs are, but what your rehabbing costs are going to be, what your material costs are going to be. And make sure you do everything you can to get that locked in, meaning even if you've got to buy it and buy it right now at that price and get it into either a storage unit, or if the property's got a garage or a basement, whatever it is, if you've got to go and get all that material and get it now, get it into the project, but most importantly, secure that project. A couple of years ago, we actually had a project that we were doing that we came in one day and a number of our pieces of equipment had been stolen because we had forgotten to lock up one of the basement doors. All of a sudden, those costs obviously are ones that you don't expect, but what are you going to do if they've got your chop saw, your table saw, your paint sprayer? If they've got those types of things, you're going to have to go out and get them again. And that just, dramatically increases the amount of costs you're going to have on a rehabbing project. So make sure, and as easy and as inexpensive as it is nowadays, even get cameras out on the property. It's so cheap and so easy to do that nowadays. Get cameras on it and then put up signs that, the property is secured, that it is being monitored, that there are live cameras around, and make them visible so that people can see where they're at. Because I tell you, once somebody starts seeing that there's cameras on a property, chances are they're not going to be snooping around or trying to find out how to get into your place. All right, let's see here. So, continuing on. Oh my goodness, time flies, doesn't it? All right, next, let's talk about, we did talk about ordering materials at the right time. Honestly, as soon as you have the project, or as you know that you're going to be doing a specific project, get your materials list put together, get the dollar amount put together, and like I said before, get it ordered, get it coming. For a while there, we used to have problems with appliances. We knew for sure that before we even bought the property, we knew we were buying the property 100%. We would order appliances, because for a while there, getting appliances was like pulling teeth. If you ordered it right at the very beginning, you were lucky to get them in 3 to 4 months. Oh. Thank goodness that's no longer the issue anymore. But yeah, anyway, okay. All right, next.
Brian, real quick,
Yep.
just a thought, because I want you to be able to share this with folks. It's one thing when you've got an established list of different vendors and suppliers and subcontractors that you've been able to build a relationship with and you trust. It's another thing when you're trying somebody new. How do you make sure that you protect yourself so that you don't get taken advantage of with regards to payments up front, in the middle, on the back end, ordering materials?
That's a great one.
Give everybody a little perspective on that.
So for me, and I've done this from the very beginning, is I will not pay like any subcontract or anything like that. I will never pay them anything up front. If they do not have a viable business to where either A, they can't pay for the materials in advance, or if they're okay with me picking up the materials and them starting the work, that's fine. Then I will pay them as work gets finished, but I will never, ever pay anybody in advance. When I'm doing stuff for other individuals, and I have people call me up asking me to do stuff for them, I don't ever charge in advance. And I think that if you're running a viable business, could you potentially run into somebody ripping you off? Yeah, you could. But I find that if you're upfront and you're honest with other individuals and with people in your business, those are the types of people that you're going to attract. So for me personally, like I said, if I've got a sub that they're hurting as far as not being able to supply materials in advance, then I'm probably not going to be going with that individual, because I want to make sure, or at the bare minimum, if I can supply the materials, if they give me a materials list, I go down and buy it and I supply it, and then they can start work. That's the bare minimum for me. But if they're wanting money up front, no way. Sorry, not going to do it.
Gotcha. I just thought that was important to touch on so that everybody gets a little perspective. Because, listen, when you get into this game, especially in the rehabbing side of things, you get an awful lot of subs that'll talk a big game. They will take your money, and then you have no leverage whatsoever. They may
and they are
for a very long time or never again.
Yep, exactly. And that's what, and I found that at least for me, the easiest way that I found to protect myself was simply by that. If I'm buying the materials, then I know that they're being delivered directly to the job site. They're not going to be going to some other job site that this guy's trying to finish up. Or when they're there, or if they're providing materials, then fine. You show up, you provide the materials. As soon as I see it's on site, if I feel like reimbursing you then I'll reimburse you then. Otherwise, almost all the guys that I deal with and that I work with, we have enough of a working relationship. When it's all said and done, they submit to me a final invoice. I pay the final invoice. We've never had a problem with that.
Gotcha. Thanks for adding a little clarity to that.
So that does kind of jump us right into getting ripped off by subs or by the cheapest bid. I don't think I've ever done anything on a transaction that the cheapest bid was the one that I went with. In most cases, let's see, there's three ways of getting things done or doing things. It's either good, fast, or cheap. But yeah, Jay knows this one. Oh, yeah. If it's good and fast, it's not going to be cheap. Yeah. If it's cheap, it may be fast, but it definitely is not going to be good. So you can only pick two of those three, and one of them, always is the dealing with the money side of it. So if you can't, like I said, if it's going to be cheap, it's generally not going to be good. And that includes things like pre-made cabinets. Getting the cheapest quality cabinets, you're going to end up running into problems, guaranteed, when it comes to buying the cheapest cabinets that you can, or countertops, or even labor. A lot of times, if you're paying for the cheapest amount of labor that you can find, chances are you're probably going to have to be redoing it somewhere. So the next one, and this is probably, I would say, this is probably the first one that I should have actually gone over, but it's communicating. If you are not able to communicate well with not only the subs that you have, with maybe a contractor that you're dealing with, maybe you've already got the house, maybe you've already got an end buyer in mind, or an end buyer is already waiting in the wings, ready to buy the property that you're rehabbing, which we've done that on a number of times. If you can't communicate with them clearly, then you're going to end up with a problem in the end. And generally, it's going to be, you're going to end up losing money on the transaction simply because the communication wasn't clear. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but if you don't speak literally the same language as maybe some of the subs that you're working with, or have somebody on site that is able to speak the same language. I don't speak Spanish at all, but Matt does. And so when I have transactions or things that I'm doing that I'm working with Matt always deals with a lot of the subs that he has that do speak Spanish, because I could be trying to explain something to them and I could be completely explaining it totally wrong the way that we want it to be done. Whereas Matt can step in, he can explain to them exactly what it is that we want. And just that sheer ability to communicate and communicate clearly makes a big difference when it comes to rehabbing. All the way down from the acquisition to knowing exactly what it is that you're buying in materials, to the work that's being done, to the transaction being completed, it all has to deal with really good communication skills. And then let me give you one last thing. See, we're almost out of time, aren't we? One of the last things that is so easy to do, and that's procrastination. When it comes to procrastinating, you think, oh, I've got 3 to 4 months to get this rehabbing project done. And Jay will attest to this. 3 to 4 months goes by in the blink of an eye when it comes to rehabbing a property, doesn't it, Jay?
Super fast. It's over before you know
It's super fast. Yeah, you start taking off a day here and a day there, or, you know, we'll take care of that later. All of a sudden you blink and those 3 to 4 months are gone. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, my holding costs are going to start increasing because I'm still hanging on to this thing. Or the time frame that we wanted to get this on the market by April or by October. Those are I generally find that those are some of the 2 of the best months to sell. At least in Utah they are. Is like March, April, and then September, October. If you get outside of that window, you could easily be hanging on to a transaction or onto a property through the winter months, and you just tacked on 4 to 5, maybe even 6 months of holding costs by simply not getting stuff done in an order in which it should have been done. So those are probably the most important items that I've come across when it comes to rehabbing. But always staying flexible as things pop up, as things happen. If you are one that is prone to come off the handle or to take things out of context or really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really blow things out of proportion when it comes to when things don't go right. Rehabbing may not be ready for you, or you may not be ready for rehabbing. That's one of the things that I learned very quickly in the beginning was, I've said this before, but be like a duck. You're paddling like crazy underneath, but on the water, up on the top of the water, it looks like you're nice and smooth and everything's just going just nice and just like glass. So
Brian,
any other questions?
I've got a question for you,
questions.
And we're going to open this up so that everybody who's on the line with us is very welcome to ask questions here as well. But I'm just curious, you lifted up this house. You obviously had some grand plans for taking that bungalow and adding that extra space to it. What do you do when you incur those unforeseen costs like a creek running under your home?
This time, that one we actually got lucky. But our contingency was that if we were to have gotten outside of our cost wise, we were going to actually start hanging on to the property and we're going to start renting it out for a couple of years. Because that one was going to be a good one that either way that we did it, either by flipping it, turning around and selling it, or turning it into a rental unit, it was going to make money either way, whichever way we decided to go. Thank goodness in this situation, we were able to stay. We actually came in just barely under budget, even though we had to drop a culvert into the basement. It was crazy.
That's so awesome, and it speaks to your character and to how you create those relationships with individuals. Because obviously, the woman at the city that you're dealing with felt like you respected her and you were not combative with her. I could have seen that very easily going the other direction. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Just where you get a little more frustrated at the situation. She probably very
just
much
wait, find out a little bit more about what the information is that they're trying to give to you, and see if this isn't that big of a deal. Or actually, in our situation, it really helped us out, because after that, I actually kind of started driving the neighborhood a little bit, and I was amazed at how many red tags there were on doors in that neighborhood. They were all over the place because people were trying to go in, you'd see a dumpster show up at the end of the day and they'd fill that dumpster up really quick. And by the next morning it was gone. So, because they're trying to keep from the city seeing that they're doing some major repair on the property, and these city inspectors, they just love going up on that door and putting a great big old, stop work sticker on the door.
So Brian, I would love for you to take just a second, and for those of our people that are on the line with us who maybe don't know you, can you speak just for a minute to your experience? Tell us a little bit how you got started in real estate, what you were doing as you got started, and kind of what that development looked like.
So my starting in real estate began, quite a long time ago. I've always wanted to get into real estate in one form or another. But as I was growing up as a kid, my dad was the comptroller for Coldwell Banker. And so I was the kid that was going around mowing all the lawns, shoveling the snow, doing that kind of thing. And I knew that the guy that owned the property, he wasn't the one that was out there doing it, because I was the one that was out there doing it. And I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the guy that owned the property, but didn't have to be the one that was doing all the work when it came to rentals and different things like that. So I always kind of had the idea that that's what I wanted to get into. Then getting married, getting into a career, I ended up going into becoming a diesel mechanic. I did that for over 16 years. I was good at it. I enjoyed doing it. But it wasn't getting my family where we needed to go. Sure, it got us a nice house. It got us nice vehicles, credit cards. But with every single one of those things came the debt that came with it. And that was just, it was a lot. And so one day a fellow mechanic came up to me and said, this literally was his sales pitch. Have you ever thought of investing in real estate? And I said, yeah, I had, but you're a mechanic. You don't know anything about it. And he goes, well, come take a look at this thing. And it literally was the first time that I went down and actually saw a presentation by Bob. It honestly, at that moment, I knew that there was something different, but I had to find out what it was. And I had to go home and tell my wife. So once we started getting more information, understanding more about what the process was, what opportunities there were that were out there, that's when my sweet wife stood 100% side by side, and we said, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to take it. And so from me getting involved with the education, 6 months into it, I knew I was going to want to quit my job. Another 3 months after that, I was able to quit my job. Then another 6 months after that. So a total of about a year and a half from getting involved with the education, starting our projects, closing deals, being able to get completely out of debt was the day that's when I sent Bob a message that he and I will always remember. Yep. But it was the day that we had paid off our mortgage. We were 100% debt free. We had nothing out there that we had to worry about again as far as being in debt. And we've never done that again since. So it's fantastic.
And do you realize, Brian, I'm just taking a little walk down memory lane with you here, because that was 20 years ago. Right around 20 years ago.
I thought about that the other day, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know how old we're getting?
That was incredible. And I have held on to that old cell phone ever since. I think it'll still operate. I know about 8 years ago I plugged it in and I still found that text. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness. That is so funny.
Oh, that is.
Well, that is truly the Renatus dream for individuals who are concerned about their financial future, who are unafraid of getting to work, getting educated, and then being able to apply what they've learned. I'm curious, you obviously have become so proficient that you're now an instructor for decades with us. But what really led you to your favorite strategy? You know, you've had experience with what? Short sales, fix and flipping, rehabbing. What else have you?
Seller financing.
Seller financing. Yeah, you've done. I know you've done even gap funding and different things for people. I seem to recall that.
Yeah.
So what classes did you take that led you up to land where you are now?
All of them, every single one. Because you have to. In my opinion, Bob is such the way that he's put this together and all the different strategies. It doesn't matter. I mean, now we have to wear eyeglasses now, right? But it doesn't matter what transaction exactly. It doesn't matter what transaction comes across our desks now. Is we can look at them literally what I call investor eyeglasses. We can look at them with so many different strategies that are available. People ask me, well, which is your favorite strategy? Well, whichever one fits the property. That's my favorite one, you know? And so if we can learn to take all the different strategies that we've got and even meld and mix them together, I mean, taking seller financing and taking retirement accounts and being able to buy with seller financing retirement accounts or buy retirement projects for or retirement. How do I want to say this?
Buy homes property inside of, yeah. Buying
homes with our retirement accounts using seller financing. There's so many different ways you can do the same thing and come out with so many different outcomes just by taking all of the education that is out there. It's mind blowing. I mean, it really honestly is. If people actually sat down and went, I had to take at the time, short sales was one of the biggest thing. And I took that class 9 times before I felt really comfortable with doing it. And it was one of the best things that I ever did. But now being able to use all the different strategies that are out there, if you're getting into this, you don't have to be the actual one to know how to do it, but as long as you understand it, that means you can find somebody to put somebody on your team that can do it. But if you don't have the footing or the foundation to understand it really, you could easily, and I mean real easily, be taken not only just for money, but your reputation. It could be, your livelihood. There's so many different things that it could take away from you by not understanding what your entire process is that you're getting into.
Yeah. I know that we're going to transition here back to Bob in just one second, but Brian, I would love just one more request. Over the course of the next week, as people are watching this video, would you be willing to come back, and if they have any questions that they leave in the comments, come back and answer those for them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Brian, you're an absolute rock star, man. It was so great having you out here on Renatus Invest Edge because, I mean, you are homegrown. You came up, you were birthed in the education, and now you are educating others. I love that.
Yeah, you created it.
Well, I very much appreciate it. It's been fun to see all of your success over the years, and I can't thank you enough because you pay it forward. I mean, instructors inside of our community are a unique fit because they are all about giving back and really empowering individuals to get where they want to go based on the knowledge and information and tools and systems that we provide. And Brian, you're a very important part of that, so thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Bob.
All right, man. Well, I've got a few announcements I need to get into here, so I'm going to dive right into it, get into my PowerPoint. For one thing, I just want to make mention of this, and it's the simple fact that what we have inside of Renatus is a unique opportunity. There may be individuals that are watching the Renatus Invest Edge and hanging with us every single week just to glean some words of wisdom. Great. I hope that we can help assist you in your investing. There may be other individuals who go, you know what? Man, I would love to learn additional strategies. I would like to know more about what you have to offer. I'd like to understand, your software programs, your tools, your systems, your support, and how that might assist me. If you've got any any defined need and or any curiosity, man, we'd invite you to just drop us a line and let's see if we can't set up a time to have a conversation. We've got one of our consultation experts that will be more than happy to just spend 15 minutes with you and see whether or not we've got something that could help you in your investing business. So what do you need to do? It's pretty simple. On your screen, there is a QR code or there is actually a link. You can go to either one of those. It's going to take you to a calendar so that you can set up a time for a 15-minute consultation. Consultation's free, no pressure. All they're going to do is just ask you a little bit about how we can best serve you, and then we're going to see whether or not we're a good fit for one another. The next thing is this, is that we have coming up in the very, very near future, the Renatus National Conference. It happens March 20th through the 22nd. We call it the E3 Summit. And why is it E3? Because on the first day, we're going to educate you. The next day, we're going to equip you. And on day 3, it's all about, teaching you how to engage and apply the information that you've gained from this powerful 3-day event. We have, for our ICMs, those are the folks that are with us who actually help us to get the word out and market our education. Their ticket price is $447. But if you are working with one of those individuals and you're a guest, they have the opportunity to invite you and give you a huge discount just so that you can come and see what we're all about. The all-access guest ticket is $95. That even includes the awards banquet on Friday night. The basic guest ticket is $30 and includes 3 days of absolutely incredible training, networking opportunities, conference journal, pen, T-shirt, and some other things that we're going to drop your way as well. So that's pretty powerful. We'd love to invite you to be a part of that. Now, just to give you a heads up on what's going to be included, this is going to be put together by 23 powerful practitioner instructors. I mean, individuals who really understand the game. As a matter of fact, on the first day, Brian Sump is going to be one of our instructors. We've got 12 of them lined up just on day 1, but 23 powerful instructors. I mean, Jeff Griffin is going to be there. Jeff Griffin is an absolute world-class athlete. An individual who lost the use of his legs and as a result has become the Paralympic silver medalist and Guinness World Record holder. He's a proven success strategist, an author of I'm Possible. He also goes through and he really helps individuals understand how to get out of their own way and how to fine-tune themselves for success. I mean, Mr. Jay Stark, the president of Renatus, is going to be there. And man, wait until you listen to Jay and what he has to share with you. It'll absolutely blow your mind because he has gone from startup to president of the company, and he's got a lot of wisdom to share with you in that regard. Dan Cragen. Dan is a legal expert in the wonderful world of bankruptcy and asset protection. He's going to teach you how to find deep discounts in properties that are in the bankruptcy courts and how to navigate some of those financial and legal challenges. I mean, Jason Andrus, another one of our practitioner instructors who really was homegrown here and came into the business not knowing anything about real estate. Now, I mean, he's done hundreds of real estate transactions. He is a wealth of knowledge, and he's an absolute delight on stage. The guy is such a kick. Eric Counts. I mean, we could go on and on and on with all of the incredible accolades that we could assign to Eric, but a credit mastery expert who is trusted by Wells Fargo, Century 21, and lawmakers for his credit expertise. He is also an expert in the wonderful world of investor lending and teaches credit repair and financing strategies for real estate investors. He's going to be there to teach and train as well. Dan Clark. Dan is one of the top motivational speakers in the world, honored by Ronald Reagan and mentored by Zig Ziglar himself. He is a former All-American athlete, Golden Gloves boxing champ, and business strategist. He's also in the Professional Speakers Hall of Fame. We could go on and on about Dan. He's going to blow your mind. The event is incredible. The content is second to none. The experience to network and get to know other investors from all across the country is an unprecedented opportunity. We want you to be with us. If you're checking us out for the first time, hey, you know what? Come join us. Come get to know the Renatus community because we build local communities of investors all across the United States. And you'll have an opportunity at the national conference to meet these individuals and to get acquainted so that we can help you get educated, get equipped, and then get engaged. Now, for our ICMs, that's our independent contracted marketers, we're running an exclusive. That is, for the individuals you invite, hey, we're going to put a lottery together. That means that if you are coming to the conference and you also invite others to attend the conference, your guests, and they check in at the national conference, for every guest that joins us, we're going to put a ticket in the lottery system, and then we're just going to do a drawing. And the top 5, well, they get to come to my house for a private reception with our PAC members, our leadership, myself, Mr. Jay Stark, as well as Woody Woodward. It's going to be an absolute gas. That happens Saturday night after the national conference. We're going to pick you up in a limo at the Davis Conference Center. We're hosting the event and treat you right. The conference itself, March 20th through the 22nd. You want to get registered? It's pretty simple. There's your QR code and your link right on your screen right there. Take a screenshot of that, and then come join us for the E3 Summit, the 2025 Renatus National Conference. Well, folks, and we've had another fantastic Renatus Invest Edge. I've enjoyed my time with you immensely. I got to say, it is such a pleasure to be able to do this with Mr. Jay Stark, our Renatus president. I couldn't do anything in this business without Jay. I'm grateful for his leadership, his knowledge, his work ethic, his sacrifice. And together, we just want to ensure that all that we do makes an impact in the world for good. We're focused on student outcomes and making sure that Renatus outlives us all. Appreciate you being with us on another episode of Renatus Invest Edge. Until next time, good night. God bless.